Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com. Today we're going to use the Gone Fishing Bundle from the new annual catalog Stamping Up 2023-24 that just went live this month in May and runs until April of next year. We're going to be using this beautiful Gone Fishing with the little bobbers and the fish and the great sentiments in there and awesome dies that are in here. Now this comes in a suite with this beautiful Let's Go Fishing paper. And look at this pretty paper, all kinds of neat kind of muted colors with Calypso and Misty Moonlight and some of the new Wild Wheat. And we've got Mossy Meadow and we've got these other patterns on the back. So this is well, I want to say adorable, but it's very a nice set to use for the guys in your life. And I know my mom is a big fisherwoman. So we're going to be using all these pieces here, but I wanted to show you the card that is going to inspire this fun fold. My friend Lynn Marisso in Pittsburgh, I asked her if she could make me a few cards because I have some upcoming surgery and it's going to be very helpful if I had some cards to show you guys on my blog. So you can tune into my blog post on Wednesday and I'll have more information about that just to kind of tell you what's going on in my life. So this is this really cool fun fold. So I just played around with I measured all her measurements. She's using the Forever Fern and the paper that just retired. Isn't that beautiful with the Blackberry Bliss? And I love the way the white pops out on that. So I just went wild with that and decided to make my own with this Gone Fishing bundle. Hoo-hoo. So I'm going to be starting out with a piece of Mossy Meadow, and this Mossy Meadow is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So that's just a quarter sheet of our cardstock. Now, you can see all the measurements and the products I use underneath the YouTube description, but also in that description it says, visit my blog here, press that link, takes you over to CindyLeeBDesigns.com, and you can find additional photos and tips over there. So we're going to start that as our card base, and then we're going to have a piece of, depending if you want to use, you could use your regular cardstock, but very vanilla and basic white are a little thinner, great for layering. I've got green and blue all over my fingers. I hope I don't mess this card up. Oh gosh, I should try to wipe some of this off. Ha. Blues and greens. As you can see, I already did my stamping on the inside. But this piece here is 11 inches wide. Okay, 11 inches wide and 5 1/4 high so that we have a little border around, because these measurements create an 1/8 inch border on the back of the cardstock. So when you start with a 11 inches by 5 1/4, and then you're going to put it into your trimmer, and I do have my trimmer here, and we'll just pretend we're doing that. You're going to put that into your trimmer, and what I did, I kind of cheated a little bit, and I just went 1 3/4, and then I went to 3 1/2, and then I just turned it around and did the same thing. I just went, oh, I don't feel like adding all that up. So 1 3/4, and then I went to 3 1/2 on both sides. And I guess that comes out to 1 3/4, 3 1/2, 7 1/2, and 9 1/4, leaving yourself a 4-inch inside there. So now let's see how cool this is when it folds together. So you're now going to fold it together. And when you go to fold it together, the first thought you're going to have is, I did it wrong, there's a big gap, but that gap is supposed to be there. Now we are going to go ahead and adhere that to our back panel. So I'm going to get some glue here so that I have a little wiggle room and a little bit of glue gooby on there. So I'm just going to go right around the edge. I don't want to go too crazy in the middle here where we're going to write. Then I'm going to pull this together, hold it, stand on my tippy toes, and get that 1/8 inch border around my card. And you have that little bit of wiggle room when you use glue there. So that is our folding mechanism that goes on that 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base. And I picked the colors for this out of the designer series paper. So I used Misty Moonlight, a returning color that used to be an in color, and also Mossy Meadow, good standby, faithful Mossy Meadow. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close our card, and I am going to put a panel here. I really liked how the white was very bold over here, but on this card, because I had, when I started cutting my fish paper, I had piece left over that gave me another opportunity to use these colors. So I used the Mossy Meadow, and I'm gonna put it on this panel here, just to give it a little bit of something, something. But you can certainly leave it blank there with the white, because if you're using that color, white or very vanilla, it does stand out nicely. But I decided, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try to be pretty precise in getting 1/8 of an inch around the left side and the top and the bottom. Because when we put our panels on here, we're going to want to see white or very vanilla on our sides, but we're not, so we want to cover this up. Now these 3 panels here, I'm going to move this out of the way. These 3 panels, I started out with a 3.5 inch piece of DSP, and I cut it all one time, 3.5, so that all of them I was sure would be exactly the same size. And then I used the same thing with my Misty Moonlight. I made sure I used one solid piece, cut it to 3 3/4, so I knew they were all the same side. Now the DSP is 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and these cardstocks are 1 3/4. So we're just gonna line those, get those adhered here. So here, this is a great fun fold. I'm just thankful that Lynn saw it somewhere and did me a favor and just did, now I'm gonna sit these aside a second here so I can see it. Really, I want to get these pretty straight. So there's our top one. And as you notice, this fish is just a little bit filleted down. So his belly, they do match up. But of course, you wouldn't have to if you didn't have directional paper. But I think it kind of gives that little bit of something, something that I kept it that way. But if you just had scraps, of course, you could have put a scrap of, like you could have put something like this in the middle as well. So whatever you have on hand is gonna work for you. It's a great way when you have those little pieces of designer series paper that are left over. I have to say this was one of the bundles in the catalog, the paper and the stamp set, that really caught my eye when I first saw it. So there we go. So we have our 3 panels there. Now, the thing we want to make sure when we're doing this is that we have the basic white or very vanilla or whatever color you're using for your folding mechanism. You want to make sure that you have the same amount showing on this side and this side. So you can see on Lynn, she has the white showing here. And I did cut mine down a little tiny smaller than Lynn did on hers. And then we're going to be putting these on so that we see the same amount on each side, but we're pulling it down to the bottom because we don't want to see this gap in here. So we want to make it solid the whole way up. Okay, so that means this one goes up here. So what I'm saying is we're going to have white or vanilla or another kind of cardstock showing on the left and the right, but we're not seeing it up here because I wanted to show more of the fish. I could have cut it down a little bit more, but I didn't feel like reinventing the wheel. So we have to be careful also when we're doing this because it's not glued the whole way across. As you'll notice, it's glued on the top and bottom and then on the left side here. So what we're going to do is do our top and bottom. We can actually put a little bit of glue right there. And then we're going to put this one on here, and we're using that designer series on this side. And then we're just popping up to make sure we're covering up. And then we're just getting the same amount of space on each side, which is really hard to do when you're making a video. Okay, there we've got this one, and you know, we only have it glued on this side. There's nothing on this side. This one also on the bottom is going to be also done like that. So we can go ahead and put a little glue on the bottom here. You could also put it on the back of here. I am just, and I'm using this as my reference point here. And then I'm wanting to cover up everything on the bottom so that I'm only seeing the vanilla on the right and the left side. Okay, see, and then this one is going to be adhered here. Okay, so we're going to do this. Oh, now I'm just going to put it right here. And whichever way it's easier for you is, you know, now we're going to go right against the DSP again. And hopefully we're going to get these. So they opened, they did. Yay, that worked out. Now you want to be able to kind of close up the card. So you can see that Lynn put this fern right here. So the pieces kind of slipped under here. I played around with our squares. So you want it to slip under there. I played around with our squares and our deckled rectangles, and I really kind of just went back to the oval. I thought it was the best way to use, the best use there. And it's actually going to go on this middle portion. See that middle portion? So we are going to go ahead. I used my ovals. I know you all have ovals, even though Stampin' Up! Is not carrying ovals anymore. We do have, you do have this. So you can use any shape. It just happens to be this oval is right about 2 1/8, and it is from our layering ovals. And then the border of the Mossy Meadow was about 2 1/4. All right, so now I'm going to be putting that right on the middle of my card, and remember, I'm only adhering it to the middle portion, and I'm going to put some dimensionals under it so that, let me grab my dimensionals here, so that I have a little bit of a space in between there, and I can pop up, oh, actually it can be adhered the whole way across. So what am I being all cagey about this? So it's gonna go here. Let's just put another one in here just to keep it. Let's put one here and here. Okay, we'll take these off and we'll just adhere this to the middle part of our card. So we're gonna adhere that to the middle. Okay, does that look straight? I might bring that down a little bit. No, don't mess with it because it's a little bit more on here than it is on there. But what are we gonna do? If I start playing around, well, let me see. Maybe I can get it moved without getting it too. Nope, I'm just leaving it the way it is. Okay, so I want to show you my little trick for making the bobbers and the fish hook there. So this stamp set has these different images in here, and those images show you that you can make it 2-color. You could also use your blends to color them in, but like for instance with this bobber thing I just stamped the Calypso Coral because it was a coordinated color. And then I took the Misty Moonlight. I like to do this thing that is the most visible, which to me is this outline. And then it just makes it a little bit easier for me to see what I'm stamping around it. Let me see here. Put it, and then you've got the color on there and you have your little bobber. Now my little trick for making sure I get a good cut on this is I make and cut a template. I take my die, put it on a different color paper. Sometimes I use the same color, but I die cut a negative, and I come over and I put that, well, I don't put the die in yet. That was just left over. So I put that negative around that image. And do you notice how you can see the perfect amount of border showing on there? Then it's so simple to go put my die back in, adhere it, run it through, and you're gonna get a perfect one. Because whenever you like stamp it, and sometimes you go with your die and you say, oh, I think I have it perfect. And then when you do, you have like, it's cut off on this side. So that is a fun trick to do. Oh, it's so fun. You'll be so happy you did it. But what I'm saying is it really helps to keep that border exactly where you want it. And then you can come. And I've been recently putting in, putting a little piece of tape on my die as well. The die fits in there nice and snugly, but sometimes with my Big Shot or my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, whichever one I've got in motion that time, it sometimes will move a little bit. So that's an easy way to keep your images cut nicely there. And see, I did that same thing with the fish hook that I did here. And this fish hook actually, it had this piece can stamp into this piece. I opted just to color it in because, like I said, I was being a little lazy. So now we're just gonna put that bobber on here and this little fish hook. And I'm gonna pop those up with dimensionals because, well, hey, why not? So let's get a little piece here and there. And then we're gonna, and I just, like I said, pulled the colors out. Oh, which way do I think it would? Yeah, maybe like that. So I'm gonna put the little bobber like that, and then the lure like that. And my dad is a fisherman. He is gonna love that. So now you can see how you see all the Misty Moonlight, the Berry Vanilla, the Mossy Meadow on the back, and then when you go to open it, ta-da. Oh, look, I did mine a little bit different. No, no, that is the way Lynn did hers, okay? And then inside, I did that same two-step stamping. I stamped my Calypso Coral first and then the Mossy Meadow lure over the back. And so glad you're my dad. He is going to love this. Oh, I'm so happy. And I like adding this little piece of DSP here. But like I said, it's not absolutely necessary. It just happened to be that whenever I had finished my card, I had a piece that was wide enough to put it in, and it just added another dimension to the card. So isn't that cute? I might even see about putting some other little embellishments on there. But a really fun fold, and I wanted to thank Lynn for showing me hers with Forever Fern. I may post this with this card, or I may post this on another day because I just have some issues coming up that are going to maybe keep me from being able to get all my crafting done. So it's going to be nice to be able to refreshen your mind with that beautiful card that Lynn Murisso made. So thanks for buzzing by. If you have any questions, please just contact me. It's the Gone Fishing Bundle. You can subscribe to my blog, CindyLeeBDesigns.com. I like to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday with a video on Wednesday. You can subscribe to my YouTube video too, and you'll be notified each time I post a video or on my blog. But just remember, if you do subscribe and you get an email from me, that is from my blog service, WordPress. So if you have any personal information that you want to tell me, please email me at CindyLeeB@gmail.com. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.